Ring ring ring, hello seems very
Don't get
chance.
cute with your damn ringing. People are in trouble right now.
And also peasants.
Oh my god. What did you just say?
Silence. And welcome back to Krown's magical Doom Cave.
The Doom Cave is back, baby, and we got plenty to talk about today as we get a new weekly closure and all sorts of new fun stuff to be looking at for you fucking Boolaws Anguses out there. It's time to fucking roast some Anguses right now. Anyways, we got plenty to discuss. We got plenty to get to. I finally got a good night's sleep last night. Holy fucking moly, man! I can't tell you what sort of an amazing feeling it is to get 8 hours of actually interrupted sleep, but still 8 hours, fucking good, man. And wishing everyone well and a happy start to the week out there in cryptocurrency land. I see a lot of familiar faces as always. This is fucking beautiful, man. I see not a man but a woman, which is Nikki Page. Good morning, Miss Nikki Page, our lovely moderator, as always, keeping everyone safe in Safu. I think that we are actually, I think you might be the only moderator today, except for Elsa, but you know she doesn't really count. Anyways, other than that, see a lot of good green faces here. Timo, Mr. Jesus, Kanto. I see Philosophy and a Dingo ate my satoshis. Yeah, man, the Dingo's eating everyone's fucking satoshis right now. Mr. Margolis, holy shit, dude, good to see you. Good to fucking see you, brother. My lord, man. Mr. Sidhu, Mr. Dad Rakis, Americano, fucking by the dip. There he is, man. Always reminds me of Link, and unfortunately, Link was kind of the canary in the coal mine for this whole market turning around. In hindsight here about a year ago when it topped out well before everything else after leading the kind of charge up. Powerful, man. And Dodgymon, yes, he's here. Fucking nice, man. Fucking nice. Good to see you, my friend. Good to fucking see you. Nice kitty. Speaking of nice, the bull. The bull. We done goofed now, man. It's the last time that we fucking done goofed. I see a lot of people saying I am George. Actually, I don't really know too much about that guy, but what I do know is it's kind of fucked up. But every morning before I go and make my videos and I construct my titles, I look at his channel among a few others as well, because always seems to be able to find something bullish with this. Powerful, man. Fucking powerful. Good for you, sir. And thank you for the inspiration. Thank you full-heartedly for the inspiration, sir. Anyways, other than that, Brook Diamond, morning sunshine to you as well. Yeah, it's a nice little morning over here in Eastern Europe as we get ready for, I suspect, a big week. Actually, I do really expect a big week this week, simply because we're seeing volatility that has never really been this low for, really a year now on both on higher term time frames like the 5-day and the weekly. And dear Lord, man, don't let me get started on the fucking monthly, which when that one gets going, that's probably going to be the best times or the worst times for many people out there. But other than that, man, we also got some catalysts this week as well. I believe it's either tomorrow. No. It's the 11th. So on Wednesday. Oh, Mr. Greg Smith, what's up, man? On Wednesday, we do have CPI coming out yet again. I think the expectation is like 8.1%. Doesn't really matter what the fuck it is. It's just a reason for the market to kind of move volatilely on a day like that. So I expect kind of a similar sort of setup as last week, for example, when we had the FOMC meeting. These sort of events, I do. Personally speaking, I think it's impossible to essentially guess, in my opinion, what the result is going to be, obviously, because we're not insiders. And then how's the market going to interpret that? Because, having a strong economy is not the same thing as having a strong market, for example. Those things are completely divorced, as I think a lot of people found out, especially after March 2020, right? But ultimately, I do expect a lot of volatility for that. So, going into an event like that, just like last week, I kind of want to reiterate my stance that, that the first 4 hours leading up into that event, I will actually be positionless, or I intend to not have in position. And then I always just like to look for the easy trades on the peripheries of those higher term time frame ranges. I got a lot of questions about that last week, and it worked out really, really well last week. And I expect that, we'll probably get another similar thing to that as well this week. Perhaps that could be a nice local low point as well. In fact, I would probably be of the opinion on that, to be quite frank with you. But ultimately, higher term time frames still very much unchanged here. In fact, we did just get another sort of nail, if you will, on the higher term time frames, which is, we'll get into it, I expect, anyway, soon enough. So I'm going to keep on sipping on this coffee. I apologize to all the people who absolutely hit it out there. I see Capo Tico. Good morning to you as well, man. Good morning to you as well. The SEC is helping with XRP's clarity for us. Beautiful. Fucking beautiful. How's that going, man? How's that fucking going? Anyways, maybe like the video, says MH. It would be appreciated. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. I understand that some of the things that we talk about on this channel might not be so pleasurable, but hey, it is appreciated, and you can always dislike it if you decide that you hate it and you hate me, and that's fine. Although I will be emotionally affected about it, and also that I should die. Jesus, man.
How is it like it or
Oh, Elsa says like it or die. Okay, that is her threat, not mine. They have different rules over here in Finland, I do believe. Bear Jesus in full force. Yeah, I mean, Bear Jesus kind of been in full force for a while now, right? But now things, the higher term time frames really start to take over here. Wolf Daddy says 25,000 June lows. Could be. Appreciate that for the love of running. I'm actually trying to do a little bit of running myself, man, but I've mostly been walking recently. It's good stuff. Andrew Hutchinson, Mr. Henderson says go clean some dishes, making threats to us like that. That's exactly Oh man, now you done did it. I just played a game of Civ 6. Man, I fucking love that series. I don't think I've played number 6, but I played number 5, and I've spent ungodly amount of hours on that game. Holy shit, man. It just, anytime that you start, it's always one more turn, until you're like, oh, it's 2 a.m. and I've done absolutely nothing but play this game for the last 10 hours. What the fuck? Anyways, counter trade the trend, says Stephen Conway. Always a great way to loosen up your bank account if you just, if you hate money. I certainly do agree with that as well. Is that an I Am George coffee mug? Actually, no, it's my own coffee mug. In fact, it has it did have the K on it, but man, it's getting wrecked now. I think we need to speak with our supplier. Anyways, much love to London out there as well. My dad is actually born in England, so I guess I'm a little bit English myself. Although I've never been there, or I've been there. I've been to the airport. It's really nice. It's really fucking massive and really confusing, man, especially when you've had absolutely no sleep. Anyways, a few more sips of this and then we'll get going with it. Again, I do apologize for the people out there who seem to really be, like hate this pre-stream sort of stuff right here. But hey, man, I want to make sure that, we get it going as fast as possible. And in order to do that, need to do a little bit of drinking on stream as well. 33,000 Bitcoin, says Dodge Crickets. Yes, I believe that we got pretty fucking close there. In fact, let's just go check it out. How low did we get? 33,200 on CME. Low of the day thus far, and I expect that will not be the low for forever, but maybe for a short term right here. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, of course. Yep, there you go. Forgot about that one, but nice. Sinegra, there he is. Time for some 15,000 naked puts. I mean, I think that's still for me. That's that's basically too low. Maybe on the wick, at some point, but ultimately it probably wouldn't be the worst volatility play, but I don't think that it needs to be that low, at least until I get something that, that lets me know that that's like a likelihood, right? Until that, I do think that that's kind of like the bear hopium. It's the same thing as like 100,000 or 200,000, whatever the fucking, meme is at this point, right? It's like 15,000 for the bears, or 10. I see also 10,000. Now I'm starting to see 4-digit targets, which, fair enough. People are going to continue to always, just get more aggressive with that. It's the same thing, right? With the upside, it's like you have to outdo each other in order to get noticed on YouTube. If someone does 100,000, then the next person has to do 200,000 because that makes people more interested. Same thing for the downside, which we're starting to see, but I don't think that we've hit the critical mass with that just yet. When is the low going to be hit? Well, let me just check out my crystal ball, man. No one fucking knows the answer to that. Absolutely no one, man. I can assure you of that fact, except for the actual person who's going to make the low. Because, by the way, that's how it actually fucking goes. And then after that, we can analyze it and say, this is likely a low. You don't need to buy the ultimate fucking low, however, in order to make a shit ton of money. In fact, I never buy the ultimate low. I want to buy the higher low is what I want to be doing, and then people always laugh at me at the time, and then you fast forward a few months and all good. But Krown, how did you get such a beautiful girl? Well, I bought her, and she's we're very close to Russia here, so it's quite good for someone like me, man. When Moon says Wayne. You got NASDAQ in the notes in this morning. No, I kind of want to separate that from the general analysis. It's always fun to look at other assets, but to be honest with you, it's always going to be better. If you're really thinking in terms of trading, it's always going to be better to look at the asset that you're actually intending to trade at, just at that. Obviously, it can be interesting to look at Dixie. It can be interesting to look at NASDAQ. It can be interesting to look at all sorts of different things. But you don't need to be looking at NASDAQ you didn't need to look at NASDAQ over the last couple months here to know that Bitcoin was also coming down as well. They should naturally generate all of their signals kind of together. So it's good when you see confluence between the two. Kind of adds on to the case, but at the end of the day, when I kind of want to make these videos a little bit on the shorter side, then I just think it's kind of it's interesting, but it's not necessary in my opinion. Again, just my opinion. Oh god, we have the fucking Hex crew here. Hexagon Moon, when Pulse Chain drops. When is Pulse Chain coming out? Would you let me know? Because I heard that it got moved back another 2 weeks. But let me know if I'm wrong on that, because I actually don't know. Although I did, you know, before the Hex crew starts to fucking come and crucify me, which is... They're so mean. They're so fucking mean and nasty, honestly. Yes, I understand that a few of them are very, very nice, and they have been, and I do actually have a pretty good relationship with a couple of them. But man, like the fucking mob there is just they're fucking mob. They're fucking mob. But yeah, man, what was I gonna say about that? Yeah, before they come and come at me, yes, I actually did make a sacrifice to your pulse chain. So there you go. You're welcome, I guess. Or I don't know if that helps them. So fair enough. Hex rolling over like anything else. Yeah, we can maybe look at that at some point as well. We'll see where that one goes. No 2028. What about 2028? Luna macro low, man. It's hit one of our like $60 targets, I believe, but probably in for a bounce soon. But I do not think that one's done, man. I mean, most things in this market can come down a lot more over the next few months here. Litecoin is greater than Hex. I mean, man, we're really digging deep into the fucking drawer right now, aren't we? When stem cell for follicles, Alex should be getting a hair transplant in just a few weeks here. In fact, man, it's gonna be nasty. I looked up all sorts of pictures and videos of how they do it, and they literally just take out a knife and cut open the back of your head, and then go, all right, we got some hairs here, and we'll just plot them on the front of your head like a fucking, you know, like a garden, something like that. I'm eating dry ramen now. Oh no! S triple Qs, printing tendies. Yeah, man, that's gonna be a tough one right there, for sure. Imagine buying the Coinbase IPO. Yeah, man, Jesus, that is so filthy. That is so filthy, man. Goddamn, there's a reason why they call IPOs liquidity events. It's for the early investors to just fucking dump, man. Got a job for the first time in 3 years. Nice. LOL, it's a bear market. Hey, sweet. Well, good for you, man. Congratulations. That's awesome. All right, I still got a few more to go here, and then we'll get right into it. Again, I do apologize. I'm only 22 minutes in this right now. We're actually making good time right here. Best platform to buy Bitcoin on. Well, if you do it in all caps, I mean, I guess that changes the answer, doesn't it? Depends where you're from, man. Depends where you're from. But a good old Google search, that is usually the best way to go. Did Krown get the new boot yet? I don't know what the new boot is.
The new winter shoes.
Oh, the new winter shoes. No, because it's like starting to end winter here, man. Yeah, I did get some new ones. They were nice and well used, actually. They had like metal studs on the bottom too, so I could walk in the snow. It was actually a lot better, in fact. Stopped fucking slipping around everywhere, which was like literally getting quite dangerous. Hi, is Dixie breaking out right now? On the macro, yeah, I do believe that Dixie is breaking out. It's going to trade much higher over the next few years, but doesn't mean that it might doesn't mean that it might pull back in the short term. I haven't looked at it in a few days here, so that'd be worthwhile. What's up, African Crypto World? This stream is kicking it today. Yeah, man, 1.2 thousand viewers. Everyone loves when things go down. That's when a channel like this starts to actually get a little bit of steam. Those have been like the biggest growing periods actually for this channel. You know, because when things are going up, I mean, I'm not, to be quite frank with you, you know, I said it plenty of times in 2021, you know, when it's a straight up market, the full on moon boys, they make shit ton more money than me. I'll tell you that straight up, because they're just fucking long in their longs while I'm like trading the market and doing a little bit of holding. But when the market turns around, that's when things actually, you know, require, well, a bit of a different look, we'll say. A bit of a different look, huh? Anyways, a couple more over here, and then we're good. Bit Connect says, Poncho, what's up, Mr. Empire? Good to see you, man. Good to fucking see you. Also, another reminder that on Instagram, bunch of scammers there. I have only one account. It is in the link in the description below if you happen to give a fuck. We're actually going to be working on it a little bit more in the upcoming months. Also, Trading Journal on the Krown trading application, which is, by the way, free for its base functionality, is also live and has been enhanced and will be going under many more enhancements in the not so distant future. You can now actually have multiple different journals and compare different strategies against each other if you so desire, and figure out, you know, which one's actually working better in particular situations. We're gonna have more data than this coming up in the not so distant future as well. which I'm quite happy about. But for right now, it'll get the job done, and it's only upwards and onwards from there on the journal, which is something that I really want to hammer in, for the app, because the app right now, it's good. It's a good like generalist, kind of the jack of all trades, but master of none. But the trading journal is something that I just want to go fucking balls deep on, because that's something that is very congruent to what we do here and what real trading actually is, and is something that I feel like could provide a lot of an actual shit ton of value in a much more direct way. All these market dynamics are obviously interesting and can provide insight into the market. But for me, the trading journal, that's where real trading actually goes down. And that's where real trading can be, made, really. That's where you can actually fucking make a living for yourself. So to me, that's a big thing. Are you ready for Monaco? I'm actually not sure I'll be able to go, man, because my residence permit here has expired and I'm waiting for a new one, and they're taking their time with that. So if I don't get it in time, then I won't be able to go, unfortunately. But I guess there's always next year, and fair enough, man. It's just cars racing around anyways. Probably gonna piss some people off. But for me, it's I've never been that much into it, but I was very much interested in the experience, just to see, and maybe I end up really loving it. Tokyo Channel says, just a pullback, bro. Indeed, man. Tether dominance is bullish. Crazy how that works, man. Crazy how that works. Wow. All right. That coffee is done. I'll put it over here. Give it to me. Give it to me. Okay, so we are ready to roll now. Let me just run through this. Okay. Notes. Yes, we start off over here. Okay, then boom, boom, boom. Cool. All right. So here we go, starting off with Bitcoin as always, and I want to bring us back to this chart over here, the daily volatility versus stochastic chart, because this is getting towards our general target that we had about almost 2 weeks ago now, I believe. This was, coming in from 26th of April when we got that signal. Now, the 9th of May. So moving our way towards that target, in fact, very, very close. And this signal does kind of show us about where we can kind of expect a bounce for the short and medium term on price action, or at least a very likely bounce. So first and foremost, this signal was born upon very, 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 very low BBWP, which is a volatility indicator, which measures the dispersion of returns. And for the 10 out of the last 11 iterations, the 11th iteration is the one that we're working on right here, it has led to an average move of about 20%, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, typically over the course of, couple weeks, let's say. It can be a little bit more, it can be a little bit less. I think there's a lot more variance in that, but ultimately what is a lot more consistent is the percentage move, which again, volatility is direction neutral, and that does mean that it can go to the upside or the downside. Obviously this one was to the downside. We identified that with the daily stochastic, which we had back on over here on that move. But for right now, that move from that volatility expansion point would suggest a potential low somewhere around the $32,500 region, which does line up with several other things as well. Doesn't mean that we can't wick a little bit lower, of course. And again, that is an average. So when we do kind of draw this one out, which I will do right now, you can see 20% puts Bitcoin at around about $32,500. Bitcoin's gotten about $500 away from that for the current moment in time. So I do suspect that there's probably one more dumbola probably to open up today for US markets as people kind of get crazy over the weekend, start to stress over things as they look at the charts and read all of the news and whatnot, and then sell into a Monday, and then typically Tuesday, Wednesday, you do see a bit of a turnaround, which is kind of what I'm looking for here. But ultimately, remember, this is an average, and we certainly have seen moves on the upper end of that, even closer to 30%. And it would be relevant to look at this signature over here as one of the ones that are likely to have, be a little bit more on the extremes of that estimate, as this one was lower for longer. In fact, a lot more comparable to what we saw in January on one of the major dumbola parties. And if we actually went back to July of 2021, that would also be comparable. And that was a pretty big move back on over here. I think that one a little bit more closer to 30% as well. So just out of curiosity, I do kind of want to play around with numbers here and see what would price action suggest, what would price adjust if we did see, a deeper retracement on that. And that would be about 30% or closer to 30%, which puts Bitcoin about 28,500. So if you're on the higher term timeframes like the daily, I'm kind of looking for a bounce within the midst of that range. We've seen this signal many times, even the past few months here. We've seen it about 2 to 3 times, and we're getting, we just got another one. So I do want to kind of point this out for the people who have been on this channel for a while now. So you can see how these things play out over time. Yes, they do require patience. Obviously, a fucking daily signal is going to be a daily signal, not played out in the same day or the next day or the day after that, but very likely over the next, few weeks in this case. And I would be looking at this as likely to reach lower as long as the daily stochastic momentum is still downside angled. That is the condition that I am looking for to be fulfilled until we do initiate a daily bounce. In this case, daily stochastic momentum will remain to the downside, so downside pressure, as long as Bitcoin is below 35,000 and about 500 or so right now. So ultimately, I would still say that there is pressure down in the short term, and Bitcoin likely does make another leg slightly lower, and then, probably around Tuesday to Wednesday, I would be looking for a bounce again. Anyways, in this case, I should also denote this macro chart over here for CME, or sorry, well, actually, no, this is the spot price action right here. This is the index. A couple things to be aware of, obviously. One of them is just this blue box that we've had in for a long time. This is again on the macro chart, which is basically around that low $30,000 region. So again, a nice bounce region, obviously. Also in alignment with the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement, that's about 32,000 even. So I would be looking at that area on a closing basis, for example. And this is a macro fib, by the way, to the ultimate high of this cycle from the ultimate low of the prior cycle. So I do like this area again for a weekly bounce, but when we're talking about a weekly, that is not the same thing as like a daily nor a full hour, for God's sake. So this probably takes some time to play out. So I do expect wicks lower first, and then perhaps a bounce, maybe starting around midpoint this week, something like that. Until then, it should be known that short-term time frame stochastic momentum is still pointed further south and is pressure down. 6 hour is showing downside pressure as long as Bitcoin's below 34.5. So not that far. Well, actually, yeah, about $1,000 away right now on CME. 12 hour is fresh down below 37.6, and actually volatility suggesting that this move is still underway. Full hour is also going to be with extremes here on the HVP of actually stochastic volatility right here, and that will also have downside pressure as long as Bitcoin's below 34.4. Again, I am using CME for these right now because CME just seems to get it better, especially on a Monday and a Tuesday from my back testing. 3 hours going to be showing at 33.8, pressure down as long as below there, and hourly is probably flippy floppy right now, and it is actually up as long as Bitcoin's above about 33 and 400 or so. So ultimately, what does that align with? Maybe short term, a bit of sideways here, maybe tries for a little bit of a short term bounce, but ultimately I do suspect that Bitcoin tries a little bit lower first before the real bounce, if you will. And then we could talk about bounce targets, of which I would bring up this chart over here. Let's go into a lower term time frame. All I'm doing for right now is taking a fib from the high to the low of this general range that Bitcoin's been in since basically the start of the year, and that would suggest a 382 right around about $38,000. I would go as far to say that as long as Bitcoin is below about 38, then heavy pressure down, and any obviously any rally is still just another lower high, but technically speaking, Bitcoin could rally somewhere around there. That is essentially where, actually no, the gap that Bitcoin left off from last Friday is about 35.5 to 36,000 bucks. So that would be a pretty pretty obvious one as well. Very likely plays in a bit of a range if Bitcoin were to get there. But ultimately, we are starting to hit extremes here on the shorter term timeframes especially. So I don't think that they have too much lower to go before a nice bounce. Again, I'm kind of looking, around Tuesday, Wednesday, if you will. 4 hour BBWP is at extremes here, so very likely looking for a contraction phase. Again, I do think it's going to top out here a little bit more, but we're getting very close. 6 hours, same thing, getting way up there. I still want to see it base off a little bit more, and then, looking for a bit of a corrective bounce. 3 hour, same thing over here. It's probably going to hit extremes twice, as you would expect, and hourly will definitely be hitting extremes twice. And yes, it's very, 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 very close there. So ultimately, probably, a little bit of a wick lower if I had to guess right here. And at that point, there's going to be a lot of divergences built up, especially on the low and medium term timeframes. You can see the 4 hour right now is, it's going to have it as long as you're above about 16.29 on 4 hour RSI. But again, that would suggest that, Bitcoin goes a little bit lower and then tries for a low. So ultimately that will be very likely to play out. But again, that does not make me look for a macro reversal here. We've been speaking about potential hopium on this channel and what it would likely look like. And while, it's still going to always be valid as long as Bitcoin's above about $32,000 on a higher term time frame closure, the more that Bitcoin kind of spends around here, the more and more it looks like it probably won't. So, if Bitcoin is going to play out the hopium, which I think would look something like this, where it kind of spends its time going sideways and up over the course of the majority of summer, something like that, that would be a really, 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 really good sign, fully confirmed with any sort of a higher time frame closure of $44,000. At that point, I'd very likely be looking, somewhere around 60, the 1.618 Fibonacci extension right here in the months to follow after that. Again, this is hopium in my opinion, but that's what I think it'd probably look like if Bitcoin does salvage itself here. Other than that, I mean, we're just seeing these signals play out. Hidden bearish divergence on the daily, volatility ticking up. I mean, that one was fresh as of last week. So ultimately, risk does remain lower, I do believe. On top of that, we did confirm something of significance yesterday night for the weekly closure, and it was this. Let me just pull back on over here. We'll go to the weekly, and that was the weekly silver cross to the downside. That has officially happened. I can put on my info box to see what price action would need to essentially close below in order to remain within the downside cross of this, which is basically $44,000. So unlikely to happen. Again, it wouldn't need to happen. I mean, more sideways here will naturally bring that number down. But for right now, again, pressure down. And if we look at the historical results of this, for example, there's a couple things. There have been 3 iterations in the past. 2 of those 3 iterations have been basically, your last dump before the macro low. One of them was, of course, March 2020 for the Rona dump, of which that one did not do well. If you play the cross as it is, obviously this was, a very volatile and immediate move. So naturally speaking, a cross like this is not going to work well in that case. So do want to talk about the limitations of it. Obviously nothing is perfect, but if you go back to 2014, you see the same thing over here. Cross happens in October. You see a nice little pump about a month later. Rejected, and then from that high to the next major macro low, 63.5% down over the course of 63 days. Kind of nasty. Same thing similar thing in 2018. Obviously, let me turn down the alerts over here. Probably going to get a little bit annoying, but because you see the cross happen over here, one last pumpola right here, about half a month later, and then from that high to next major low was about 54.5%, and down over the course of about 56 days. Obviously, the Rona dump one was about 51% or so. So you can see that over time, this cross, as you would expect on a maturing asset, is not having as big of a move implied with it. So I would expect, at most we probably see about 40% from that, but that would obviously put Bitcoin a lot lower. And again, I do expect that there is significantly greater low side risk in the coming months. So at some point, we very likely do see a bounce, probably coming off of this low $30,000 region. At that point, if you see any sort of a rejection below the 21 and 55, like let's say at about 38, for example, well, if we were to just shave off about 40% off the price action from there, that'd be about $24,000. Obviously, that fits in alignment with a lot of the other macro things that we've been looking at for Bitcoin, which I'll just point you towards yesterday's video where we go into a much more deep dive on that topic. And all of that is still very much relevant here, but I don't want to go too deep into this right now because it's not necessary actually for our current demonstration. But ultimately, I would go as far to say that, we can look at the 5-day and the weekly stochastic momentum as now kind of drivers in the sense that as long as Bitcoin is below these resolution points, very likely to have continued downside risk towards those generalized targets. I'm not going to get into the volatility versus momentum chart here. You've already seen it a million goddamn times, or you can check out yesterday's video if it's new to you. But in this case, we do see that 5-day stochastic momentum remains to the downside for this next period, which is expiring tomorrow night, I believe, as long as Bitcoin's below 40,500. So naturally speaking, that will move down. That will move down yet again. And I think the best hopium is that Bitcoin just spends some time going sideways here while that essentially resets. Weekly, also pretty nasty, as we do see weekly stochastic momentum to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below 42,800. Other than that, were there any points of hopium here? Daily funding rates are positive. That's great. Even the hourly is fucking positive. Oh, baby. That's just amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Open interest. I got a lot of shit for this, even in my own Discord, which was mean, man. I'm fucking mean talking about it, an open interest flush. But yes, it's still coming down, and I still stick with what I've been saying. Probably comes down at minimum to about 10.5 billion or so before I look at that as reset. And then the last point. Okay, so do we want to get into a bit of hopium right here? Yes. The only point of hopium that I can possibly have, or I wouldn't say that I can possibly have, but the other thing that does make me think that there is a bit of hopium here would be this. This is a back-tested result of all of the CNBC, which is like the major sort of financial news media in the U.S. that's like, you know, on regular TV, aired a special called Markets in Turmoil. Every time that they've aired a special called Markets in Turmoil, basically the results have been this over the next 1 year and then obviously to our current time. There is a big counterpoint to this. This only goes back to 2010. There's a reason for that, because before 2010 was 2008 and 2009, where obviously things were not as nice, but in this case, you know, if we're going to think about a year out from now, does Bitcoin likely, or the general markets, which includes Bitcoin, likely end up higher than what we currently see right now? Probably yes, or at least, you know, around that. So I would kind of still be expecting a general washout. I think worst case scenario is probably low 20s. Still, I'm not necessarily married to that idea that it needs to go there. I do think that things could bottom at low 30s or 25. And then, yeah, if we get a wick down to 20,000, that's fine as well. But we'll get to that bridge when we cross and when it becomes more and more relevant. Until then, downside risk remains. Very likely, you know, a midterm bounce coming in, you know, probably around midpoint this week, if I had to guess. But before that, I actually would be looking for maybe another short-term leg lower. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Bitcoin, sirs and sirs. Forgot to show did I show my Instagram? Yeah, Instagram and Bybit, blah, 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 blah. You know it. We'll just leave it right there. Take care and see you on the next one. Nice one, man. All right, sweet. So we got through all of that. I forgot my water. Elsa, could you actually fill up my water and bring it to me, please? And let me just see what the comments are looking like over here. I think we have Mr. SK first. Here's some tips for your tips. Appreciate that, man. Thank you. Just a nice pot. It's over there on the table. Thanks for that, man. And just a nice positive message to start this one off. Beautiful, man. Fucking beautiful. Paul Garrett says, good morning, near USD, 4 hour and daily. And then I see that there's a 15-minute added on there as well. Yeah, we can just do that all in the same blow here. Okay, so near this one. Okay, so I remember we were looking at a target towards 9.5 or so. And did we get there? 985. All right, well, close enough. Close enough. Okay, so you're looking at a 4 hour and a daily. Probably don't want to record this one, but let's see. Okay, I'm not seeing any divergences right there, so that's actually a good sign in the short term. See what the 4 hour looks like. Also, no divergences here as well. I do see a pretty obvious range going on in the short term, of course. Let's put a nice little rectangle on the bottom side of this range. And thank you, sir. Nice. Got my water. Let me just take a sippy of this. Ooh, it's cold as well. And Elsa says, you're welcome, peasant. Thank you. That's really clever of you. You know, I do generally think that you are going to see another move back down to the bottom side of this range, but probably another bounce as well. Again, alongside Bitcoin. And then at that point, the hopium is that you do get a nice bounce back up above here, which would be about 1260. At that point, I'd be looking for, you know, much greater corrections back up about 14 to 1475 or so. Until then, obviously, this is a downtrend, and the doomium is that the bounce will obviously not get above this last little lower high right here, and then do something like this, right? That'll be confirmed with any sort of a 4 hour closure below about $10. At that point, I do look for this one to come fully down towards your lows from February of this year, that being about $8.50 to $9 even in this case. So for right now, I actually do think that this one does have a bit of a shot right here. You know, it's corrected pretty heavily. And yeah, anything above last week's high, and I'd actually say that this one is likely to put in a nice constructive consolidation at the highs for a long time. And you probably do see the lows somewhere at this like mid $9 region. But for right now, I'm not really getting any like super obvious signals for short-term direction if that's essentially what you're looking for. If we go down to the 15-minute as was requested, what do we see right here? I mean, short term probably comes back down to like 10.5 or so. Other than that, I really don't feel too married to this idea on the short term timeframes. I think Bitcoin's the one to be watching as usual for direction, and then near if Bitcoin puts in a bounce should bounce a little bit more in comparison to Bitcoin. If you look at the higher term timeframes, still at best corrective here. Weekly pressure down below 15.5, daily pressure down below 11.25, which you're actually kind of dancing around right now. So this one actually is starting to show some signals that, yeah, it's probably starting to show some signals that you might have a low in here right here. Or sorry, you might have the low in right here already, but ultimately, I do think that you're very likely to come back down and test around that low. The question is, what happens after that? Do you get back above specifically last week's high or not? If you do, I would actually even go as far to say that this correction is, I mean, the macro correction is certainly not over, but I would be looking for a nice big move back up somewhere around your $14 region or so. And probably tries for a sideways consolidation here over the next few months, and that would actually be a sign of great strength. Obviously anywhere below $10, and I do look for the correction to come all the way down to $8.50 to $9. Probably tries for a bounce there and then fails. To be quite honest with you, we do still have a lot of corrective signals on the higher term time frame. So I think at best macro is going sideways for a while. But yeah, hopefully that was helpful, man. Let me see what we got over here. Okay, cool. Mr. Venegas, he's back. Good to be here, sir. Good to have you here, man. Hopefully you all enjoyed your weekend. Yeah, man. I mean, it's the same old, basically. doesn't change anything for me. Could you check out Algo on the 4-hour and daily? Yeah, we can do that one. Yeah, you've been looking at this one a lot the last week or two now. Let's see where this one's at. You're looking at a daily and a weekly and a 4-hour. Okay, let's go to the daily. A daily looks to me like it's putting a bit of a local high right here. At best you're still downtrending. The question is, do you get one more push up, maybe somewhere north of 80 to 82 cents? Definitely possible. Weekly, again, you're starting to build up some bullish divergences here. So I do think that you're preparing for a greater bounce. At some point I would be looking for this one to pop up to 90 cents or so. Not actually, honestly, this one is starting to put in a low here. I just think it's going to take some time. So I'd expect sideways for a while. Probably has at least one more spike low somewhere right around here. Just want to see a higher low above that 56 cent region. And that's where I'd start to say, hey, this one is not just put in a low, like the low is likely in, you'd see something like that, and then specifically pop back up above that 90 cent region or so. Until then, 55 cents is going to be a critical area right there. Anywhere below there, especially on a higher term time frame closure, and I look for this one to correct way back here to 40 cents or so, and at that point it's probably over for a very, very long time. But for right now, it is starting to put in some signals of a low in the making here. I just suspect that this one comes one more down and then tries for that triple low in this case. 4-hour time frame. Do you try short term up first? Yeah, probably one more move to 79 to 81 cents or so. But I don't think that it's just going to shoot up exactly from here. I think that would be a little bit less likely, but ultimately really good jewel signal on the low. Let me just pick it up. Yeah, this one actually fired off on the 2nd and 3rd of May. Yeah, that was basically the low. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I do quite like that signal, but I suspect that it comes down maybe one more time and then tries for the actual move. Other than that, yeah, maybe one more try short term up here and then likely comes down, plays at that bearish divergence. I don't think that you're going to break out to even on the short term timeframes here. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful, man. Go down. Let's see. Elite Truck Repair says, have you looked at Engine yet? No. Surprisingly enough, it's not very popular. It just joined. It's all good, man. Yeah, we can recap it, although timeframes would be massively helpful, and it is an absolute shitcoin of a chart. Wow. Terrible. Just fucking god awful here. This one certainly relatively weak compared to even the last couple things that we've seen here, Near and Algo. I do think that this one, again, I don't know what time frames you're looking at, but if you're on a weekly, if you're looking at the macro relative to this one, I do think that you're coming down somewhere between about 80 to 70 cents before it tries for a major low. And at that point, probably look for a corrective rally, could trade back north of 1 to 120 or so, but ultimately long term still heavily macro bearish as long as you're below that last weekly lower high, which is 195 or so. So not great here obviously, but I do think that this one has one more spike down. Yeah, 4 hours trending right now and just looking absolutely awful. 4-hour BBWP telling the story in this one. I do want to see this one get back north of 90 to 95 percentile before I start to look at this one as likely to put in a local low. At that point, I look for a rally, probably in alignment with Bitcoin. I'd be thinking Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe. Maybe it happens around U.S. market open today, but I do expect it's a little more likely for one more drive of continuation and then try for a bounce off of this region here. And then, bounce can come up, like I said, very easily above $1, maybe even to 120. But ultimately, this one's certainly on the weaker side long term. It's too loud, sir. Your volume's too loud. No, it's not. Oh yeah, my computer volume's actually quite loud there, so I'll turn that down. Yeah, I mean, I do think that you're going to get a pity bounce off this region right here, yeah, at the very least, but not the strongest chart in the short term there. Cool. Let's see. Yeah, Patrick Craig says, morning, sir. Aussie, yes, the Aussie dollar versus USR. Yes, I have not looked at this one in a while, but I'm always interested to look at Forex. OANDA, let's see. You're looking at a 4 hour and a daily. Monthly is just what I popped up to right here. Again, you might see another short-term bounce off of this like 69-cent region, but long-term, I believe that this one strongly is coming down to 66. Actually, the devil's number right there, 666, in the next few months, maybe around end of the year. Yeah, quarterly is just atrocious, man. Jesus Christ. That is... Sorry to my Aussie friends out there. That is just god-awful. Yeah, hidden bearish divergence, volatility trending up. I think that this one... I wouldn't be surprised to see this one back down around like 61 to 62 cents in the next couple of years. Just ugly. Very, very ugly. I mean, this literally looks like a shitcoin chart here. You get that first spike up, and then all after that, it's just down, 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 down. Anyways, you're looking at a 4 hour and a daily. Let's do this. 4 hour... again, you're going to be building up some divergences here, but you don't have a local low just yet. You already got extremes on 4 hour BBWP. So be looking for a bounce, maybe, or very, very likely at some point this week, probably Tuesday, Wednesday again, bounce come up very easily towards like even just north of 70 cents, like 70.5. But 4 hour daily, I'm looking for this one to reach lower overall. In fact, I do think that you're going to spike down just south of 70 cents first, 69.7 or so. Try for a little bit of a short-term rally there, probably gets rejected and sets up for continuation in the next few months. Yeah, really, 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 really ugly. Nothing bullish about this chart at all whatsoever, as long as you're below about 75 cents. Yeah, fucking terrible. Bad, man. Capotico is here. What's up, man? Near on the 4 hour. Yep, we got that one as well. A lot of interest in year. That's I wonder why. I just want to go back to the 4 hour here just to see. It is certainly operating as one of the more relatively strong ones, but I'm inclined to say that it still probably retests these lows first and then tries for its rally. Especially if Bitcoin rallies, this one should probably do quite well in that environment. Let's go back to the 4 hour here. Yeah, 4 hour stochastic momentum will turn down below 1070. So see that sort of a closure, basically below last 4 hour low. I would be looking for this one to retest around $10 or so. Even that is. Cool. Yep, I think we already looked at a 15-minute here too. Yeah, same thing. I mean, a little bit of sideways, maybe tries one more short term up and then probably down. BK says APUSD 4 hour daily weekly. Okay. I don't know if there's much of a weekly on this thing, man. It's pretty fucking new. So 15-minute down, but that's probably not what you care about. 4 hour also looking a little bit down. Oh, wow. Yeah, this one. Okay. Yeah, this one's going for the full retrace. I would be looking for bounces like very, very soon here, whether you're actually already seeing it at about 1080 or it comes down to 1055 first. I don't know. Obviously, there's no way for me to know that, but I'm just generally looking at this area as a bouncy area. Whoopsies. I did crypto move. I would be looking for general bounce off this region, but again, do not confuse bounce with reversal. This thing has seen the highs for a very, very long time, and I actually feel very confident on that as well. You might get a bounce up in the next few weeks towards like 13.5 to 14 or maybe even $15, but I actually do think that you can very likely break this over time and come down more. But for now, more in a bouncy area than not. If you're on a daily, yeah, same sort of thing here. Again, it really doesn't have the history for a daily, but you are seeing extremes here on daily BBWP, and you're seeing potential hidden bullish divergence, which I do think will play out on this one. But again, if it gets corrected, bounce like 13.5 or 15 even, that's still just another lower high. I would not flip around to being long-term bullish on this, especially as long as it's below this high here from 4th of May, which is 1775. Until that gets reclaimed, I think at best you're going sideways. Yeah, not great. Mr. Martin Hunt, good morning to you, man. Could you take a look at XAU on the daily? Okay, that's gold. Let me just flip back on over here. Okay, so gold. I'm curious to see what gold is doing. Is it actually using this as an opportunity or not? It's come down to our 1875 region. You would expect a low here if it is going to end up being bullish. That's kind of the problem with it, and yeah, I would go as far to say that this is kind of the line in the sand right here. Anywhere below basically last week's low, and I will start to flip around to being probably macro bearish on this one. Until then, I actually think that you probably, if this plays out, that was probably the low, and that'll be confirmed by popping back above and especially closing above last week's high, which is 1909. Again, I think this one takes a long time, if you're on the higher term timeframes, which I think is most appropriate for this one, quarterly and monthly. For example, I'd still be bullish on. I have no reason to let go of that bullishness until you do see a closure below last week's low. At that point, I'd look for a correction down to 1790 and probably another bounce there. But at that point, it's starting to lose its formation and probably initiates a much deeper correction longer term south of 1700 if that were to happen. But for right now, I still think that the hopium long term is appropriate actually. Yeah, quarterly I'd still have to be bullish on as well. It's just probably going to take like a long time. Cool. Let's see. Tokyo channel. There he is. Please, hey man, all good. Please, you want to look at doggy coin? Oh dear Lord, man. What? You always bring up pound yen, or sorry, not pound yen, but dollar yen. But we can look at dog derp coin over here. I still don't think it's at 10 cents. I think it just barely hit 10 cents, a few months ago. Yeah, 10.67. So once again, this song is coming, man. But I actually do think that it's very likely to drop off here. In fact, should I do I should do a video just for the doggy holders. Oh yeah. Critical warning to the doggy holders of the world, and it looks like doggy is about to initiate the move as we do have the silver cross to the downside, and we do see hidden bearish evidence on weekly RSI plus weekly Joule getting a downside signal fresh as of last week. And this is all within the context of very, 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 very low BBWP. So this move very likely looking for an explosive, in my opinion, probably downside continuation. The only way that I would, invalidate that and actually get quite bullish on this thing would be any sort of a move higher, and especially a closure higher on a daily above not last week's high but the 25th of April, which was 1708. Above there, I would look for big bad moves up to 25 cents plus in the following months. But ultimately, I do believe that this one is a lot more likely to continue on with the downside trend here that it's been in for basically a year now, actually. And I would be looking for the general bounce, over the next couple months after another continuation. First, after retesting these lows from February, which is around 10 cents, and then after a little bit of a bounce there, I would be looking for the next few months to trade back towards about 7.5 cents or so. So doggy rolling over. Let's see what we have over here. I'm just curious if this lines up with what I'm saying. Daily, still downside pressure below about 1278. So again, short term, probably setting up for a bounce relatively soon. I don't think it's going to fall through the cracks like exactly through here. 5 days, so higher term time frame, still showing great pressure down below about 1478. Weekly is major pressure down below 1350, and that is also playing out a trendline regression rejection here, and also within the bearish control zone. So I do look at that as very likely over the next few months here to trade down, probably south of 10 cents. The only invalidation that I'd have for that is with a move above 1708. At that point, I get quite bullish. Monthly, as you did request, Mr. Tokyo channel, again, I think that this one probably puts in a wick down somewhere just south of 10 cents, between about 7, 8 or so, something like that. Tries for a bounce there. To be fair on the macro, if you do want to give doggy its due diligence, it does hold its macro higher lows, but you have higher lows as long as you're above on the macro scale, as long as you're above 0.0026. So, theoretically, it could be a long way down. I do expect a big bounce again somewhere around here. And then, come back to it after that. If this area does fail below about 7.5 cents, then at that point, very likely looking below 3 cents in the following months. It's probably more about where it belongs, to be quite frank, but hey, it's going to take some time, and that's quite far away to begin with, so I shouldn't actually talk about that just yet. That's more of an if statement rather than a statement in general. In this case right here, I think that you got one more short-term move to the downside, very likely tries for a bounce somewhere off these like 10-11 cent lows. Probably another lower after that, could trade up towards like 12 to 13 cents, and then I'd be looking for it to take the next major leg down. Yeah, heavily bearish as long as you're below again 17 cents or so. So hopefully that's helpful and they're good for doggy coin, sir. Cool. John Dude says, Krown, I want to express my appreciation for hey man, it's all good, man. This is this helps me as much as it helps or hopefully helps anyone else, man. Market is Shizer, dude, but hey man, appreciate that. The busing action returns. Yeah, man. You know, I always want to say that this is a selfish endeavor. Obviously, it's hopefully an altruistic selfish endeavor. You know, obviously there are super chats, so like money is involved. There's YouTube ads, of course. There's money involved. I also have my programs and my Bybit shill as well, so there's money involved. But at the same time, you know, you want to be able to give something out as well, and so that is where I kind of come to on that sort of an idea. So you know, I you know, I always get a little bit like, ugh, you know, when someone's just like, I just want to help everyone. You know, it's like, yeah, you do want to help people, but you also want it to be maintainable for yourself. It needs to be regenerative so that you can continue to help people. It's the same thing as like fucking, you know, when you're on an airplane and they explain, hey, before you put on your mask, or you know, if the oxygen mask comes out, before you put on someone else's, put on your own. You need to help yourself so that you can also help other people, right? So in that way, that's kind of how I think the world goes around. Is selfish altruism. It needs to be regenerative for everyone. P213 says, please sir, make my stinky linkies go back to 1030. Wait, what? Is it below there? Man, I haven't looked at this since last week. Let's see. Is it below $10? Oh my God, it is below $10. Wow, the LARP line's not saving this one. That's for sure. That's for damn sure right there. Wow. I mean, you actually probably do get another move back up to $10.5 to $11, but I don't think that's what you're looking at. I that's not a reversal call. I think you probably get rejected around there. I do think that this one has lower to go actually, probably closer to like, you know, $8.5 to $7.5 before the next like major bounce. Yeah, pretty ugly there, man. So yeah, I do think that you're probably gonna get a bounce, or it's not that I do think that you're going to get a bounce around there. It's just you're probably going to get a bounce relatively soon, and it could very easily come back to even $11. But I'd actually be looking at that as very likely the high of the rally. That should be a backfill in last week's open. And short term, I do think that you're going to continue on with the short term downside here. You know, again, we're not even seeing extremes on daily BBWP just yet. So I need to see at least like 85, 90 percentile before I even consider that this one is reaching like a trending low. So I suspect that this one has lower to go first, and then you probably get a bounce. Does a bounce, you know, come back up towards like $10.5 to $11 as you requested? I mean, it depends how low it goes first, man. This thing could easily come down to like $7.5 to $9 on like a nasty wick and then give you a bounce. But even at that point, I would not feel confident just blindly saying it's going to come back up there. If you're on short-term time frames, it's continuation, man. Very likely continuation. I wouldn't even consider a potential bounce towards your target. In fact, I would actually be looking for a bounce towards your target if you did see an hourly closure above 10.15. So a little bit of hopium right there, but this one to me looks like it's continuing to trend. Even the full hour hasn't reached extremes here, so I want to see double extremes on that, plus a daily. That's where I call a low, or at least a bounce off of a low. Until then, downside risk remains, man. WIFA9 says, do you think that a secular bear market is on the table for all markets? Would that nuke Bitcoin? I mean, that's quite literally, at least that's what it seems to me that the Fed is trying to do. They're basically sacrificing the stock market in order to fight inflation. So is a bear market on the table? I mean, if you look at individualistic stocks and you don't look at like, you know, the big 5 tech stocks or big 4, whatever the hell they are, it's been in a bear market for like half a year now. You know, all of these are, you know, more than 20% off their highs, or most of them are 20% off their highs. So do I think that would nuke Bitcoin? I mean, these things do trade together for right now. At some point, I do expect that relationship to, you know, probably die. But does that mean that has to be today? No. In fact, I would expect it to continue until it doesn't, which is not a helpful statement I get. But until we get some sort of verifiable change in trend where, and I don't mean on a fucking hourly or 4 hour or even a goddamn daily chart, because I see this all the time where people are like, Bitcoin's decoupling from the stock market. It's like, no, sir, you're on a fucking 5 minute. Like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about like a weekly, preferably even a monthly trend. When we see them going opposite directions, and that, you know, at some point, that's when I'd say, hey, the relationship is dead. Until then, yeah, I would expect a secular bear market would obviously be bad for Bitcoin as well. Remember, or at least my stance on this is that what we saw over the past few years is a liquidity bubble, and that liquidity bubble was definitely expedited by the Rona situation in 2020, and now we kind of have to deal with the well, now we kind of have to deal with the consequences of fucking printing a shit ton of free money. So they're withdrawing that. They're raising interest rates, and that's going to impact markets, obviously. Yeah, I think I'll just kind of leave it right there. I do still think, though, however, it is better to be looking at the asset as hand. So while, I would kind of expect that in general markets, just based off of what the Fed has said, I would never put that above just the analysis that I do on like an individualistic name to begin with. Elsa's laughing, but there's nothing fucking funny right now. Oh, you're laughing at Jason. Sir, why isn't on-chain data pumping Bitcoin? All you influencers say Bitcoin to 100,000, but Bitcoin isn't going up. It's going down. You fucking bastard! When illiquid supply? When dormancy flows? When wrecked, man! Well, this is what happens when you fucking follow 19-year-old people who have only experienced a goddamn bull market. Just kidding. Okay, again, I should not say that, man. This he's going to be great. He's going to be great in the future. And it's not just him. It's all the fucking on-chain people. And look, you can make the same sort of statements about TA as well. I mean, TA is astrology for men. I totally agree with that. But at least it sometimes works. But Do Kwon is buying. Yeah, and someone's fucking selling it to him. Do you think he just bought like fresh Bitcoins or he minted them himself? Like what? Like, jeez, like seriously, the level of this market is hilarious, man. People don't even realize that. I don't think that they realize when they go on Coinbase that and they buy Bitcoin, they buy their $10 of Bitcoin for the week and do their DCA, right? That someone has to sell them in order for a market to work. That's how it works. For every buyer, there's a seller. For every seller, there's a buyer, right? The only thing that changes price is an imbalance of sellers and buyers. Bitcoin isn't going up. Make it go up. I too would like a refund. Truco Production says, Luna hitting the lows again, good sir. Looking to play the likely bullish drive that'll print on the 4 hour. Bless you, sir. Yeah, let's go look at it. Man, I had a really bearish analysis on Luna like a month or two ago when it was around like $100, and I got a lot of shit on that on Twitter, man. I wonder if they'll apologize after this. Probably not, but fair enough, man. Shouldn't care about that kind of stuff. Okay, let's see. Do I have a chart here already? Yes. Oh, that's a nice one. That's a nice one. Getting close, man. Getting real close. I would like to record a video on this one as well. And we don't need this anymore. That's irrelevant for our range. Okay, here we have Luna, or Terra Luna, I should say, versus the dollar. This one has hit multiple of our targets. First, that $75 target, got the nice bounce off of there. Now coming down to our $60 target with a low today, or yesterday, I should say, of 59.5. For right now, on the short-term timeframes, as was requested by Truco, I actually do think that this one has one more drive lower. We're not really seeing a bottom just yet. It's getting very, very close, however, and we will naturally have regular bullish divergence when it does confirm a local low. And for what it's worth, 4-hour BBWP has hit extremes here, is now coming down. I suspect, however, that this is going to be, you're going to see probably two extremes on this, where it comes down a little bit and then maxes out yet again, and that's going to be the next major low in this case, and probably play out some pretty nice bullish divergence drives. Until then, I would not call a local low here at all until you do close a full hour above $66. If that were to happen, I would be looking for a corrective rally somewhere in the mid 70s, somewhere between about 72, maybe even as much as 75. But ultimately, I do believe that risk does remain lower. We did have a nice formation over here with a technical target down towards about 55 or so. So that is still in the cards for the more long term on this asset. Weekly, I actually see that lines up directly with the 55. So again, I do think it's a little more likely long term to put in a major low somewhere around here, that being your mid to low $50 region. At that point, I would be looking for a higher term time frame bounce, not just a lower term time frame bounce we looked at earlier, which is in the making, maybe after one more drive to the downside. And at this area, I'd be looking for a nice greater bounce. That it does not immediately make me say that it's going to be a macro reversal to new all-time highs. In this case, it should be known that the monthly is very obviously putting in a macro cycle top here. We have 1, 2, 3 drives of bearish divergence basically in the making, and longer term, over the next few months, $45 to $50 very, very likely here. Below there is where things really start to fall apart for the macro. So this is not the next statement I'm going to make is not saying that this is you know, that this is going to 100% happen. But if it does, well, if it does, then it does. But basically, any sort of a monthly closing lower low than about 42, let's say, let's make it 42. Whatever this low here was from beginning of year, yeah. At that point, I would be looking for a much deeper correction towards 20 to $22. So there you go for all for all the people who are kind of mean about this one to me. I was very, very bullish on the way up, but in this case, you know, the monthly I think kind of tells a story here. I do strongly believe it will come down to somewhere around like 44 to 45 bucks. And there will be bounces along the way, of course. You know, things don't move in a straight line, although this one kind of is right now. But for right now, you know, just be aware, if you are trading the short-term timeframes, I would not call this a local low just yet. I would only call it a local low until you close above about $65.5 to $66 on a 4-hour time frame. At that point, I do look for a corrective rally towards 72 to 75 or so. If we go check out stochastic momentum over here, I do want to see what those timeframes look like. See the 4-hour. 4-hour will turn up actually above about 77. So that is a bit of a short-term better signal. So yeah, I guess it could potentially put in a short-term local low here. But again, I would not confirm that until you're back above that region. In my opinion, risk does remain lower on, especially the higher term timeframes. It's daily risk again lower as long as below $72. This one still has momentum to the downside. 5-day is just absolutely nosediving here after rejecting that regression. That's 90.5, and weekly is perfectly on that regression at about $100. So I do think that this one is still correcting long term, and I do think over the next few months you probably do see mid to low $40 before like the big bounce, if you will. And then maybe that's macro low, maybe it's not. I would not say that before it actually happens, of course. Hopefully that's helpful. And there you go for Terra Luna, SIRS, and ZERS. I mean, this honestly looks like it's about to push off here, to be quite frank with you. It's just a downtrend. Just a downtrend, bro. Just a downtrend, bro. I agree with you. A bullish divergence drive is building up, but it's certainly not confirmed just yet. Earliest I'd confirm it is with an hourly closure above about 64.5. And I would not trust that. I'd say 65.5 would probably look good. Yeah, probably for a move towards like 71, 70 to 73 or so. I can trade stuff, says Axes 4-hour and daily. Sure. AXS, USD, okay. Let's see where we're at on this one. Down we go. Hidden bearish divergence is building, bro. Actually, no, it's not. I apologize. It is not right there. Although it still looks like garbage anyways. But is it getting ready for a bounce? You are around those July 2021 lows. We've hit those. Yeah, that was a target based off of the break. And that actually, that happened a couple weeks ago. So yes, that was the area. Probably does initiate a short-term bounce relatively soon, but like very, very short-term, if you're on a 4-hour, I do think you're going to retest these lows first. Very likely somewhere around 27.25 to 27.5. Probably tries for another short-term bounce there. Bounce come back up towards 29.5 to maybe even 30, but I'm overall bearish on this one, looking for lower lows as long as you're below 31.5. Yeah, and I would confirm significantly new lows if you see any sort of a 4-hour closure below, what is this area right here? Like 27.25. At that point, I do look for the next major move to come down towards $20 to $19. Yeah, very, very ugly right there. Very, very ugly. Again, volatility ticking up. Not 4-hour, but weekly RSI trending in the the bearish control zone in this case. I look at any potential rallies. If it even were to happen to like 35 to 40 as just corrective rallies and likely lower over time. 5-day ugly, everything ugly, ugly. The question is, do we get another bounce here first or not? And if you do trade above this $31.5 high, I would look for a corrective rally towards maybe even close to $40, but probably more like 35 to 38. I would not call any sort of a macro low here at all whatsoever, as long as you're below. I mean, that's your last lower high from March, 75.5. Ugly. Let's see. Echo Zien says Ethereum. Okay. 4-hour or daily. Yeah, let's just do a general overview on this one. Always interesting to look at, of course. Let me set up my charts over here and over there. Okay. Is the hopium going to play out? Fuck no, it ain't. Or probably unlikely here. All right, let's get rid of everything there because it is unnecessary. Okay, do we have anything on the 5-day? Yeah, just continuation. Okay, Here we have Ethereum versus the dollar, and we have a silver cross to the downside on the 5-day. I think the weekly is also looming as well, and I stick with the weekly target of down back around your January and February lows, which is between about 2,300 to as low as about 2,150 or so before the next sort of generalized bounce. So it is getting close here. It is certainly getting close, but again, do not confuse bounce with a reversal. There's nothing at all whatsoever defining a reversal here, especially as long as you're below like 3,200 on your higher term timeframes, or 3,300 for that matter. Until then, I do suspect that you probably got one more drive a little bit lower here, kind of similar to Bitcoin. You know, maybe it gets a wick down to 23 or maybe even a little bit lower than that in like a nasty liquidity event. And then I probably would be looking for a short-term bounce at least. We are starting to hit extremes here on 4-hour BBWP, but again, I want to see it hit extremes for a second time and then come below the moving average on this one. So, you know, does that happen today? Maybe, maybe not. Probably more so Tuesday to Wednesday, if I had to guess. And at that point, you know, you could see some corrective bounces into the mid 2000s or so. But for what it's worth right now, I still think that this one has lower to go. That hidden bearish divergence on the daily RSI certainly playing out, starting to get a little bit like egregious here. But daily BBWP saying that this move, you know, has more legs on it. So I do expect that there's more to go. Daily Jewel also showing another downside drive here as it just gets rejected exactly where you don't want to see it rejected. And if we go over here to our higher term time frame stochastic momentum, we will notice that the weekly, just like Bitcoin, is downsetting a little below about 3,100 with heavy downside momentum back into the bearish control zone. I should add 5-day, same thing, 3138 going to be the magical number, and daily is showing downside below 2635. So I think that we probably got one more drive here a little bit lower, probably bounces between 23 to 2150. Again, I know that's a major range, but it has to be that way because we are looking at, you know, we're very likely looking at a very volatile move here, and there's probably going to be a nasty, or there very easily could be one of those nasty liquidation events. So in this case, I continue to look lower here. Higher term timeframes like a monthly, I think are really starting to look quite nasty. But again, you know, you are kind of coming off of some major moving averages here, that being the monthly 21. So it's closer to a bounce than not, but I do expect that there's one more wick lower first, and then a very nasty game to play after that. The nasty game would be any sort of a weekly closure below basically 2,300. Any weekly closure below 2,300, and I will become egregiously bearish on this. Egregiously bearish on this, looking for much greater corrections, at least 1,800 to 1,700. And I actually I wouldn't just blindly call like a major macro low there, but that's only if you do close a weekly below about 2,300 or so, just below 2,300. Until then, short term, one more drive likely lower, and I'd be looking for extremes again on 4-hour BBWP. And at that point, probably have some bullish divergence drives building up, although as of right now, no, you don't, which is not great. But probably a bounce off the low side of the branch, at least a pity bounce, and then, you know, anything, especially below like 2,900 is just not relevant for the long term, let alone fucking 3,300 or so. So yeah, I think I'll leave that one right there. Quite nasty, and hopefully that was helpful. Friend randomly called to fish for advice on when to buy, which Bear Jesus warned is always a sign of the end times. Yeah, I would not be calling a low anytime soon. I think the hopium is that you come back down to these lows from January and then just grind it out throughout all of summer and then flip back above about 51, or sorry, not 50, but 31, 32 region on a weekly. That would look good. Apologies on that. Until then, you know, this is really not fucking looking good, man. Let's see what the monthly looks like over here. Oh my god, wait, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? that's great. That's fucking great. Okay. Alex Artist says GST 4 on daily, CoinEx. Okay, thank you for specifying the exchange as well. That is very helpful. Green Satoshi token, this one's going to be good. What the fuck? Yeah, I do think it's getting ready for a bounce soon, as are most things, but probably one leg lower first, around 435 to maybe even as low as 420. Great number. It's a little bit too new to really be looking at even on a daily, in my opinion. But yeah, I do think that you probably have one more move slightly lower and then get ready for a bounce. But again, bounce not the same thing as reversal. This thing is probably going to get fucking wrecked, man. Okay, yeah, there's not a monthly here. I'm going to guess this is what you saw in April is going to be the high for a very, 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 and 10 more very long times. Generally speaking, I think this one's coming down to 385. Like medium to long term. 4 hour, again, trending here. I think that this one has one more swipe to the downside and then short term bounce, but again, not the same thing as a macro low. There is no talks of this one putting in anything resembling a fucking low at this moment in time, as long as you're below about, I mean, God forbid, like fucking $6, let alone 6.5. Yeah, not great. AK says, Floki Inu and thoughts on crypto sponsorships. What do you mean crypto sponsorships? I mean, the problem is that most, like... Oh, okay, sorry. There was one more before you. Jonathan Pigeon. Fitfi. Oh, this is going to be good. Fitfi. Okay, so there... Do you think it's bottomed out on a short time frame? What's a short time frame to you? Like a 4 hour? I think you're getting pretty close here, but probably a little bit lower. Somewhere I'd like somewhere between about 45 to 41 cent before I look for a bit of a bounce. And again, bounce not the same thing as a fucking low. This thing is garbage, most likely. You know, if you're on an hourly, probably one more swipe somewhere around like 45 cents or so, maybe a little bit lower towards 43 or so. And then I'd be looking for a bounce. How big can the bounce be? Bounce can very easily come back up towards like 50 to 53, but that is not a call for that. I mean, I just don't trust them that is this new, man. I really don't have a good analysis on something like this, to be quite frank with you. If you're on a 15 minute, again, I don't know what's low time frame for you. If you're on a 15 minute, I think you're going to trade up here towards about 50 cents first. And if you do even close above about 50 cents on a 15 minute, I'd increase those targets towards like 51 and a half. So again, I don't know what time frame you're working off of. I don't know what's low term time frame for you, but for something like this, that's only been around for, you know, a month or two, or just a month actually. I expect that you probably head lower, over time. I think the obvious bounce area is like 40, like low 40s, between 41 and 43. That's kind of the obvious bounce area to me. And again, I think probably best it does the upside is maybe like low 50s. That's like, in my opinion, best. But again, I really don't have a good opinion on these things that are this new. So take that as you will. I'm probably going to be wrong on the 15 minute as well. Like I'm just not getting anything super obvious right here. I think FitFi died, says Venegas. Yeah, man, just get into that one right now. You know, there's going to be corrective bounces along the way, but I do think that like most of these newer altcoins, they've seen the highs for a very, very long time. Okay. AK says, Floki Inu and thoughts on crypto. It depends what's sponsoring you, but in crypto, you kind of have to assume that everything's a scam first before, and it has to kind of like prove itself as being legitimate. Garbage, absolute fucking garbage. Floki Inu, what the fuck? Yeah, I believe last time we looked at it, we were looking at a move back down to your September all-time lows. I still stick with that, man. This is hot fucking garbage, man. You're probably never going to see this high ever again. Or if you do, it's going to be like three to 5 years down the road. It's literally like, this is the perfect fucking chart from a 2017, 2018 shitcoin that is probably going to be spending a long time going down for now. Again, you didn't give me a time frame on this one, so I'm just going to go off the weekly. I'm looking for it to retest its September lows, probably pity bounce there. Pity bounces anything below this blue box here, which is like 250,000, is just another lower high, and very likely getting for lower lows. Just garbage, absolute fucking garbage, absolute just terrible fucking garbage. The monthly is just atrocious. Everything bad. Again, there's going to be corrective bounce along the way, probably on the short-term time frames. Well, probably one more drive lower on the 4 hour first. Yeah, just terrible, just really terrible. Orange Lambo says, Algorand or Ape is better to buy. I am not a financial advisor. I have no idea what the fuck you are looking for as far as an investment or trade goes. I don't know what the hell time frame you are on. There is no way for me to know your personal preferences as a trader or investor, or what that even means to you, let alone whether you even know what that means to yourself. It sounds like there's no fucking way for me to know that. If you're asking about fundamentals, I am not the person to ask. I have no business talking about fundamentals for the most part. In my opinion, Algorand and Ape, they're just, in my opinion, they're just altcoins. Altcoins typically do what altcoins do best. You know, for Algorand, for Algorand at least has more history, you know, but I mean, which one's a better to, I mean, which one do you want to lose a little bit less money on? That's how I translate the question for myself. I'm thinking about losing money, but I was curious, which one do I get to lose more with? I don't know, but Ape doesn't even have enough history to really be looking at. Sorry, man. Adam Killane says SCRT. Okay, what could this be? SCRT. What am I getting into here? Secret Network. Oh, man. Well, you could also, have you considered Secret Network, Orange Lambo? This one's also great for losing a shit ton of fucking cash on. Oh, this is amazing. Great. It's almost getting ready for another 50 fucking percent markdown. Amazing. I love getting wrecked. Fucking getting wrecked all over my face. Okay, you're looking at a 15-minute and hourly. It just got recently listed on a new exchange. Oh, great. Fucking amazing. Just another place to sell a piece of shit like this. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Like, who waterboarded you into buying this thing? Sorry, I'm being way too egregious today. I apologize. Look, I'm not criticizing you as a person. I'm criticizing this as a shit piece of fucking garbage chart. To be fair, it actually did take out its 2018 highs. Still think it's going lower though, man. I mean, long term, I think this one's coming down to $2. But that's like months and months away. You're looking at a 15-minute and an hourly. Okay, 15-minute. Garbage. Hourly. Also garbage. But you're probably going to be getting ready for a bounce pretty soon here. Where does it, I mean, where would I even be looking for on a bounce? I mean, can we go back here? Is there anything like relevant? Maybe around like 295. I mean, you're pretty close. Pretty close. I think you maybe got like one more drive short-term lower and then probably try for a bounce. But again, bounce, not the same thing as a local low. For right now, I'm not really getting any signals that do suggest it's bottoming here just yet. It's close. It's definitely getting close. 15-minute RSI is like literally extremely fucking low, and you're seeing extremes here on BBWP. So I expect that you probably hit an official extreme and then put in a low. So it's very, very close here for the short term if you're on a 15-minute. Hourly, a little bit less so, but again, it's really not going to take too much to get it to bounce. So I think you got one more drive a little bit lower, maybe around 295 to like low $3, and then try for a short-term bounce. But again, I like, where would I call a bounce to? No, I mean, I think best to do to the upside in the short term would be like 310 to 315, and that's like, or 320, which would be like best of the best in my opinion. Like that would be very short term. Long term, I think it heads lower. Short term, it's setting up for a bounce relatively soon. I suspect that you probably hit extremes here first though, and then bounce. So maybe around 295, $3. If you see something like that, I think that would be like a good signal for a short term bounce. Davey says guard daily and 4 hour. Okay, this one's new, I think. I think it's okay. It seems like they mostly stopped. This thing does not trade at all. Daily, way too new. This is on Uniswap. This is also versus Ethereum. So I don't know if this is exactly what you want to be looking at. Maybe it's a stock. Is it a stock? Is it this? Is it a? If it was, you'd probably specify, because you're also from New Zealand, it looks like. So I'm going to guess that it's either not on TradingView or it's literally this. And this is an unhelpful chart. I wouldn't have any real opinion on this because it doesn't really trade here, I mean, I'm looking at the volume. It trades like one contract a day in some days. To me, that's not worth looking at, or it's not that it's not worth looking at. I just don't have an opinion on it. If I had to call it, I'm generally going to be angled towards the downside based off the market, somewhere back down to like 50 to 60 cents or so. But again, no real opinion. I don't even know if I'm looking at the right thing. It's probably likely that it's not on TradingView because it's very low cap or very new, something like that. Yes, I see. Fucking by the dip there. He is. How low can mana go? Okay. We haven't looked at this one in like months now, man. So I'm guessing that this one's like super wrecked. Let's see. Where can the low be at? Any info would help. It depends, again, what time frame you're looking at, but I'm guessing you're more long-term, kind of knowing you. Yeah, this one, I think this one's coming down to like 75 to 80 cents long term. Yeah, really fucking ugly here, man. I mean, this is your first move into the bearish control zone on the weekly RSI, and volatility is just ticking up right now as well. I do think that this one does probably trade towards like 80 to 90 cents or so. Should I record a video on this one? I'm really not going to like this. Monthly. Yeah, I think this one's seen the highs for a very long time. I think like long-term best case scenario is putting in a low somewhere around here. I mean, at least it's extremely likely to bounce within this region. But do I think it's going to put in a low there? I mean, I need to see a low first. You know, that's the problem. So I think that would be kind of like a potential region. Again, there's going to be bounce along the way, of course. You know, it's not going to go like straight down exactly to there, or even to like 80 cents for that matter, or 90 cents for that matter. But you know, my point is that I would just be generally, you know, very, very bearish on this, especially as long as you're below like 2.25. No reason to call any macro reversals. The general direction is down with bounces along the way. Short-term bounces even to 150 probably get rejected if I had to guess. Yeah, I'm generally looking back down around like 80 to 90 cents. That's a potential where I do think you might start to see some lows. If it's going to be long-term very good, that's about where I'd probably expect them, I think. Again, I'd want to see it at that point of time as well. Cool. All right, let's see. AD says, hey man, thanks for that, brother. Looking forward to making it all back in one trade. And once we get this dump over with, well, you know, also let's make sure that we also are kind of like a bit more grounded in reality. So, you know, whether Bitcoin, you know, again, best case scenario, I do think Bitcoin kind of bottoms out at like low 30s. I do think it's low probability for the reasons mostly in the weekend Sunday video. But even if it were to come down to like 25 or even $20,000, remember that we'd still probably be waiting at least like 3 months after the initial real low was hit before Bitcoin reasonably does anything after that to begin with to the upside. So, you know, this is we're going to be looking for another very boring period of reaccumulation, similar to what you saw over here in 2019, and then again over here in 2020 after the Rona. That's kind of where I start to look for you know, some upside yet again. So it's going to take some time, most likely. Even after the sort of catastrophic dump in 2020, you know, this is kind of about as fast as you can really expect it to. In my opinion, just because the dump was so fast, you expect the accumulation to theoretically be a little bit faster as well. Gigi says, I'm sorry, but we need to look at Hex. Oh Lord. All right, let's check it out. Well, let's see. Where is it? It was actually one of the better charts last week. So let's see if it held up. Nope, it is putting in a high right here. Yeah. Okay. So looks like the hopium is going to be rejected. Yeah. I think that this one's actually topped out here and probably going to join the rest of the market. I have to be bearish. Looking at this as your next probably weekly lower high below about 20 cents. That does mean any sort of a move above last week's high, which is about 20 cents even, I would actually get mega bullish on this. But until then, you know, I think you're going to be trading a bit of sideways this week. Probably short-term bounce relatively soon here, maybe even back up to like 18.5, 19 cents, and then very likely back down. I look at this as your next lower high on a daily. You got hidden bearish divergence the whole way through, 5-day and weekly. Do you have potential hidden bearish divergence? Let's see, 49.54 versus 50.19. Yes, you do. A 5-day should have it as well. Yep, more exaggerated here as well. Yeah, I'm probably looking for this one to come back down to its 12 to 10 cent lows or so. And then same thing as all the other ones, right? You know, you're probably going to see another bounce off this region. Bounce, again, not the same thing as reversal, but if the bounce brings you back above 20 cents, that's at the point where I'd say, hey, this one has its macro correction done and ready to rock and roll to the upside like big time. Until then, you know, what's probably most likely to happen, something like this, slew of lower highs and then down long term. So yeah, hopefully for the Hexkin's sake though, and hopefully for the fucking mob's sake, it does something like that, right? Cool. Samantha Smith says, Sir Lexington, war cry to get us back up to the top side. Mr. Lex is on standby here. Let's see. So we had another wick down, 5 threes. Is this the short-term bounce we're looking for? Are we getting there now? I don't think I'd say it just yet. We're getting very close though. like the market should have a short term, or I shouldn't say should, but it's likely to have a short term bounce relatively soon here. I still want to see this hourly get below the moving average. That's where I think that there's a high probability of a nice short term bouncy bounce. I think it's easier to see on, yeah, CME here. Cool. Bang Average Rider says, whilst Bear Jesus is dragging Zill to the depths of hell, I'm scalping and shorting Zill. Any idea when the priest will bring Zill back up? Well, I've convened with the Shadow Council, and apparently Zill will go back up. I mean, I think it's just getting ready to actually fall off a bit of a cliff here, probably to like 6.1 cent. I like, the problem is that I don't really understand what you fully mean, like when it goes back up. Do you mean just for like a corrected bounce? Well, you're going to see plenty of those along the way. But long term, I do suspect that this one does come down somewhere around 5 cents, give or take. You know, would I just blindly call a low there? Again, no. That's not the way that I do things. I need to see a low first, but I would be looking at that as potential region. But low there, I mean, things get a lot more nasty, probably down to like 2.9 to 3 cents. But for right now, you know, I would give it a chance at about just around 5 cents, give or take a little bit from that. Silver Cross gets rejected in its attempt to go to the upside. You know, very likely coming back down here. Monthly, I think at best you're playing out a macro range between 21 cents the upside versus like 3.5 cents to the downside. I think that's best case scenario. And you probably test the downside again and hopefully hold there if it is going to end up being long-term good. If that doesn't work, then probably the rest of the market's, you know, in the dumpers anyway, so probably doesn't really matter. DM Love says quant weekly and long-term. Okay. QNT, I believe, is the ticker. And we're looking Gemini, I believe, is the best chart. Weekly. Okay. Down. No, this is not the best chart. Maybe Kraken? Nope. I think there's one that goes longer than this. Maybe KuCoin. Yeah, here we go. KuCoin. Like, we're definitely on the relatively weak side. You know, if you're going to see a bounce, this is kind of the area you want to see a bounce from. But I think best a bounce does to the upside on a weekly is like 94 to 95 bucks. And continuation to the downside more likely. I do think longer term this one does reach towards you know, $70 to $55, somewhere around there. Yeah, really ugly here, as are most things. Daily, again, hidden. It's same thing as Bitcoin and Ethereum. Hidden bearish evidence and back down to your macro range lows here. The question is, do you get another pity bounce off your macro range lows? You kind of you got one over here. It's good. Do you get a second or third pity bounce? Maybe. If you do, I think best it does the upside is like 94 to 95. Long term, I'm still looking for this one, or I would be looking for this one like 60 to 70 before I'd be looking for like the major weekly bounce, like the obvious weekly bounce. Until then, there might be one more move up to like 94, 95 possible. Let's see. James Bob says, have you seen the tweet? My altcoin has gone down 95%, so it can only go down another 5% from here. I've seen variations of that tweet, you know, just over the past few years. But yeah, the problem with that is, as you probably, or it sounds like you very likely know, you can always go down another 95%. Doesn't matter where you start from. Even if you're at 1 cent, even if you're literally at 1 cent, you can still go down 95% yet again. Yeah, nasty, man. Very nasty. I think we're at Zen Bull Trading. He says 0x on the hourly, am short. Nice. Or, well, I'm guessing probably nice, but let's see. So this is 0x here on the hourly. Oh, nice. You got a nice little trend trade right here. Don't know where you started from, but, you know, just like the other ones, I think we're getting ready for a short-term bounce here relatively soon. I think earliest would be around U.S. market open. Personally speaking, I do think it'd be a lot more likely Tuesday, Wednesday region. We do see hourlies starting to get around extremes. You're at about 86.5 percentile right there. I preferably like to see it above about 90 percentile and then get below the moving average. At that point, I would call a corrective bounce. I'm just curious where you are kind of on the greater schemes of things. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're getting towards bouncy areas. Might have one more short-term move to the downside, like 57 cents, but you know, I think the short-term, like hourly move has played out a majority of it and is closer to a bounce than not. I would call a full-on bounce back above about 60 spot 69 cent towards 62 to 63 cent region. if that were to happen. But until then, I think maybe one more drive a little bit lower and then get ready for the bounce. Again, easier to watch for Bitcoin in my opinion. Throat's starting to get fucked up. Blitzwin says DFIT. Oh god, for price prediction, there's no way to do that, man. There's no way to actually have a price prediction, let alone a piece of garbage. Like dude, what the fuck is this? It's not even on TradingView, man. It's not even on TradingView. DFIT. Oh, it is, but hold on. Okay, it's not the base pairing that it's not US dollar pairing. It's versus Ethereum pairing. Just garbage, man. Fucking garbage. Just fucking garbage. But hey, you know, like price prediction, like a fucking time frame, you can't even do a price prediction on something like this, or I can't do a price prediction on something like this, man. Look, when you're getting fed price predictions by like YouTubers and shit, personally speaking, in over 10 years of doing this, I have no idea how you can actually reasonably do that with the amount of information that is available for something like this. Personal opinion. If I had to guess, I think you're probably seeing a major high right here. It probably gets one more rally up somewhere around like 816, whatever the hell that number is, and then comes down. But I have no idea. I don't know the fundamentals of this, nor do I care about the fundamentals. If I'm looking at the chart, just looks like very few people are trading this. Yeah, I don't have an answer for you, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, man. The problem is that you're going to ask someone on YouTube and they're going to give you an answer. There's, in my opinion, no way to actually know that answer, especially God forbid you even put a fucking time frame on there, which again, without a time frame, there is absolutely zero way, in my opinion, to know at all whatsoever, especially on something that's, you know, newish like this, only since April. Or actually, no, it's had about a year, but still quite new, in my opinion. So yeah, man, I don't think I don't have anything helpful there. I apologize. Cardurpio. Oh, Cardurpios. Yes. Cardurpio. Show me your herpio. Here we have Cardurpio, symbol ADA versus the dollar, and this one slowly but surely making it down towards our macro downside targets. I still look at about 55 to 60 cents before the next major weekly bounce in this case, and I remain long-term macro bearish as long as you're especially below 120. There will be corrective bounces along the way, obviously. Depends what time frame you're on, but if you're on a daily, this thing is just absolutely doing the dying swan formation right here. We had hidden bearish divergence about a week ago. I still think that this one's playing out, especially with daily BWP starting to trend up here yet again. I look for extremes on that, plus, you know, 5-day or weekly targets getting hit, which is more so around about 55 to 60 cents before it does initiate. Likely a big bounce. I mean, it's probably going to be a big bounce. Monthly in free fall, I mean, just atrocious. If I'm looking at a monthly, I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing around end of the year at like 40 to 45 cents. You know, pretty awful all the way around. Let's see, monthly over here, straight down, downside pressure as long as below 170. For the love of God, that's, you know, more than, it's almost a 3x from where you're at, let alone a 2x. It's kind of nasty. Weekly, just nosediving below 90. I mean, this is like, it's weak in an already weak market. 5-day downside pressure below 94 cents. Like, the problem is these things are already at such extremes right now that it's kind of, it's like it's going to have a nice bounce, or very likely to have a nice bounce. But man, I'm getting more downside continuation signals than bouncy signals here for the medium term. So I do expect it probably, you know, trades down towards like 55 to 60 cents before it gets a weekly bounce. Until then, you know, lower term time frame bounces probably just get absolutely boo caked on. 4 hours trending right now. I mean, not great, man. Yeah, even on the daily, heavily bearish below like 90 cents. So hopefully that's helpful. And there you go for Cardurpio. Sorry I'm late. Cardano on the 424. What is 424? Oh, the 4 hour and the 24 hour. Gotcha. Yeah, 4 hours continuation, man. Daily, just continue. I mean, this one is weak in an already weak market, man. This is like truly a hot piece of garbage here. Awful. Fucking awful. Fucking god awful. This is the real chart too. Like, really bad. I do think you're probably close to a bounce at like 68 cents for the short term. And even then, I don't know, man, this one's kind of already pushing off right here. But if it were to bounce there, anything below 90 cents is just another lower high, and very likely to trade down towards mid to upper 50 cents before a weekly bounce. Personal opinion. Cool. Let's see. Martin Hunt, he's back. He's looking at XMR on the daily and weekly. Sure. XMR, USD. Okay. On the weekly, you say? Yeah, this one. Yeah. Not great, man. I think that this one's about to shit it all out and come back down to like 170 to 180 region, maybe even 155. But somewhere down in this pocket over here. I mean, this is exactly where you don't want to see rejection. So lower high. Silver cross remains to the downside, so that's kind of the market telling you it wants to remain down there. Do you get a bounce in between? You didn't really ask about a daily, but oh no, you did ask about a daily. I would call a corrective bounce if you could close a daily above 222, that is basically yesterday's high. If you see something like that, I would be looking for a bounce up towards like 240, maybe even 250. If things get really crazy, that would be a good signal for the long term. Until then, I am looking generally. Honestly, I think that this one probably trades down to like 170 to 180, tries for a bounce there. Bounce probably fails, and honestly, I think it's going to come down to like 150, more like, and maybe puts in a low there, maybe. Monthly is not super bad long term, but yeah, I'll be wrong on this if you do trade back above 222 and close a daily there, and this one very likely goes for a nice rally after that, and then we can maybe even talk about reversals back onto the upside, but for right now, I'm generally looking towards downside. Let's see what, I just want to see what weekly momentum looks like. Not great. Yeah, very likely looking to the downside, yeah, especially after looking at the weekly there, 264. Okay. Let's see. Cake, bro, you are a machine. Cake, you mean like the ticker? Pancake swap? Let's see where this one is, man. People haven't asked about this, and it's got to be like half a year now. I'm going to be looking for this one to retest 569 lows on the weekly. So that can take some time, obviously. Again, I don't know what time frame you're on because you didn't specify, but yeah, again, just another shitty chart. Probably looking for a bounce of like $5.50 to maybe $6, but any bounce that fails to get back above your April highs, which is 1046, it's just another lower high, and probably corrects further down over time towards like $3. I mean, that can take months and months and months, obviously, but yeah, I'm not a fan of this chart. Daily trending down here, probably back down to 630. Tries for a short-term bounce there. Generally looking sideways and down here, man. 4 hour, same thing, trending down. I think you got a little bit lower before even a short-term time frame bounce. I mean, they're all getting, everything in this market is getting quite close to like a short-term time frame bounce, but again, short-term time frame bounce doesn't mean much. Rocky Road Beats says, can you do SHIB on a, oh God, fuck my asshole. Man, you're going to bring up SHIB on a day like today? Wow. Shitcoins will be shitcoins. Cheer fucking Lord, man. I mean, long term, this thing's coming back down to like 950. Long term, I think it's coming down another 50%, honestly. This is just fucking garbage, dude. Absolute fucking garbage. Do I even have a chart for this one? I do, but it's not even relevant because the last time we looked at this one actually was trading like few multiples higher. You did have a nice little distributive formation right here. Again, you're going to see bounces along the way, but long term, I mean, you do have a technical target down around about 1100 to 1000. Just garbage, man. This thing has no fucking business being traded to begin with. Again, you're gonna have short-term bounces. If you're on a 4 hour and hourly, you're probably gonna in a 5 minute. Oh my god, dude, do you have to pay rent or something? Sorry. Hourly, you're getting towards a short-term bounce here very, very soon. To be quite frank with you, and I do think that it will bounce up somewhere around like 1800 maybe. But again, this is already relatively weak, so. Whether it bounces up towards like 1780 to 1800 before more down continuation, I don't have a strong opinion on. If I had to call it right now, I think most of this market's getting ready for a bounce relatively soon here on the short term. But again, this one very likely trades lower in the next few months, very likely. If you're on if you're on like a 5-15 minute hourly, you might get a bounce to 1800 short term here. 4 hours still trending. I mean. Yeah, again, the 4 hour would really not take too much to get a nice bounce on this one as well, but I just think it'd be easy to watch Bitcoin for right now. So kind of a long way of saying I mean, shit, did Bitcoin even just do that? Let's see, what does CME look like? Looks like continuation. Mr. Filson, there he is. What's up, man? Been a while. Holy shit, we got 1,000 likes. This is amazing. Nice. Thank you for that. Cool. I think I need to go up now, and wow, we still have a few more. Yeah, you can close the chats. I mean, it's already an hour 50 minutes. This is the longest stream we've done in a while. GST. Okay. I'm not familiar with this one, I don't think. Okay. I guess coin derp. Bad, very bad. General overview. I mean, this is a 4. It's very new. Maybe there's like a KuCoin or something. Still shitty. You know, again, short-term bounces. If this thing wanted to trade back up to like 475 to 480, that's completely fine. Nothing changes here for me as long as you're below 540. Or sorry, make that $5.50 long-term. Very likely to trade back down towards your April 30th lows, which is like low $4, $4 to 420. Probably in the next few weeks, or maybe even shorter than that. This one's very, very new here, obviously. If you're on an hourly, just like most other things, you know, short-term bounce, certainly not out of the question. But again, any sort of a short-term bounce that even fails to get back above $5 is just that, a short-term bounce before a long-term continuation. I generally think that this one does trade further south before doing anything of particular interest. Let's see. 413X says, hi, sir, could you please do jazz me on the 4 hour, okay? Jazz me. All right, another one we haven't looked at in a few weeks, or maybe longer than that, and another shitty ass chart. Wow, absolute garbage. Another absolute fucking garbage piece of shit chart. If you're on a 4 hour, I mean, this one's like, it's already trying to bounce here and already getting rejected. I would call a greater bounce. And also confirm bullish divergence if you confirm a local low. That would happen with a 4 hour closure above 1.635. 1.635. Until then, I look at this one as just likely to trade lower again, man. Likely coming back down somewhere around 1.3-ish to 1.35-ish in the next few weeks. But 4 hour, again, if you do close basically above that 1.6 high, I would be looking for this one to put in a nice corrective bounce, at least towards like 1.7, maybe even towards 1.8. If that's what you're looking at on a 4 hour. Hourly, again, it's just weak here, man. Just any chance it gets to get sold, it gets sold. I mean, it's literally never had an uptrend ever, not even once. Terrible. Let's see. Lord Alex Leone. Very, very pompous. Yep, we got cake. We looked at that earlier, so good on that. Mitch Dempsey says silver. Okay, so if gold... Okay, so my sort of idea with silver is that if gold is looking good, then silver also looks good, and let's see if that is holding true. Not as much true as you'd like it to be, but or as I'd like it to be, if that's going to hold true. I actually do still look at it as long-term good, as long as you're above about 21 and a quarter or so. On a monthly. So, you know, if you are looking around end of year, I'd actually still be bullish on it. But that's more so based off of gold than silver itself. If this thing starts to come back below like $21 on a monthly, then it's like I can't really look at gold and say that this one is going to be bullish when you know, if it were to do something like that. So below $21 is where I say that it starts to diverge from that, and you're probably going to be looking at moves back down to 18, maybe even 15 or so. And I'd be massively wrong on that, but not really something that I'm like not really like super up to date with silver anyways. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say other than that. Let's see. Anthony Waldman says, I wish Bitcoin would pump as much as I pump my PP. Me as well, sir. Rubbing it raw, baby. Curtis Ferguson says, be big. Okay, is this a ticker? Yeah, I did everything above that. I'm not... Is it a stock? Is it on NAS? Is this it? I'm guessing this is it, hopefully. I also do not see a time frame, so I don't really know where to go with this. I do think you're putting in a little bit of a short-term low here, and probably trades up to like 430 on the monthly. 420, sorry, $4 to 420. Again, I don't know what time frames you're looking at, but... short-term time, I have no opinion on this one. I don't even know if I'm looking at the right thing for you, man. If it's a crypto, it's not on TradingView, unfortunately. If it's a stock, then I'm looking for probably another move up towards $4, maybe even 420 in the coming months. I think you're putting a bit of a local low there. Let's see. Ben XCAD, okay. remember this one's done different things in the general market in the past. So let's see where it's at now. And wouldn't look like it so much. Daily and weekly. Daily, I think that this one's coming down somewhere around $3. Probably tries for a bounce there. Weekly says bounce likely fails and comes down to about 250 to 270 ish. I think at best what you're doing here is you're doing something like this. You see like a weekly range here, right? And you probably come down, test around the weekly range lows and hopefully put in a higher low, then work its way up, kind of similar to Bitcoin's hopium, and then specifically back above 435. That would look really good long term. Doomium is that you're probably going to do something like this and come back down much further towards 130 to maybe even 80 cents. Because this is a log chart. And, or sorry, no, that's, oh my God, that was a linear chart. Wow. Yeah, fair enough. Solana. Yeah, we could do Solana. Sure. Okay, yeah. So I did get the right one. Okay, yeah. I'd actually be looking for a continuation there. Solana Hopium is wrecked and actually going to initiate the... Wow, it's going to initiate the downside. That is insane. Okay, yeah, let's record this one. Here we have Solana symbol SOL versus the dollar, and I think Sam might be getting another entry at his bids in single digits. No, just kidding. That's still very, 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 very far away. But in this case, it is starting to break down below your weekly levels here. So I do expect that it does have another major move to the downside in the coming couple of months, probably down around about 60 to maybe even as low as 53 or so, and then probably tries for another bounce there. Sorry, on a monthly, I should say that you're very likely to see a short-term bounce somewhere around about 66.5 to 67. So a bounce along the way, very likely in this case, but for right now it is trending to the downside, and I do look at daily BBWP as likely to get the next sort of daily local low. Again, local low, not the same thing as a reversal, but if we do start to see this get north of 90 percentile, I would start to consider that it's likely to put in a local low relatively soon. Until then, 5-day is trending to the downside still, silver cross to the downside right there, low volatility. This is like a perfect setup actually. Weekly is drawing closer to it as well. I do expect that this one does have lower to go. Short term relative to that, if you do see any sort of a rally towards 85 to 88 bucks, I think that would be fine, but that's kind of where I'd be looking for on any sort of a corrective rally before continuation to the downside. So if we go down here to a lower time frame, which I don't know if it's relevant to you or not, there's going to be bounce along the way, especially on the short term. But even on the short term, any sort of a corrective rally to like 85, 88 is just, it's just that a corrective rally before lower. If we go check out stochastic momentum, I'm curious what this one says. See, weekly is in the bearish control zone, fresh down below $100, pressure down, not great. 5-day is pressure down below 103, also not great. Daily is also pressure down below 81.75. A lot of these are at extremes right here, so I would expect a bit of a short-term bounce relatively soon, and it could very easily run back up to 85 to 88 if it wants. If you're thinking long-term, like months down the road, I do think that this one trades much further south before putting in a potential macro low. $65 would be an area of interest, or 66, whatever it was earlier. Below there, I do look at about 50 or so. Until then, pressure down and long-term heavily bearish as long as you're below about $1.20. Uh-oh, did the stream just die? I think the stream just died. Uh-oh. No, it's back. Okay, it's back. All right. We're back, baby. Apologies on that. Okay, we got Solana there, and then last one is NAS. Oh, okay, and then we'll do Venegas. Venegas is last one. All right, so NAS, yep, I have it over here. 16. What time frame? Daily and weekly. Yeah, it is a little laggy, but it should be okay now. Again, just like Bitcoin, I think that we're getting close to a bouncy region here. If you're on the higher term timeframes, which it sounds like you are, daily and weekly, I do think that your next daily, weekly bounce is going to be somewhere around here. So you're pretty close, between about 12, 12,200 to 12,300, something like that. Short-term timeframes, again, will have bounced along the way, very likely, but I'd be looking for a move somewhere down around here. And then a bit of a weekly bounce or so. Yeah. Long-term, I do stick with my targets down towards about 11,000 or so. Yeah, I don't really have a reason to let go of them just yet. So that's very long-term, though. Maybe around end of year, if that's relevant. Until then, I think that you're probably going to do something like this, come down, put in a nice little bouncy bounce, and then where's the next lower high? Anything below 13,750 is just garbage. Okay. Last one for Venegas. He's looking at Gary. Okay. I guess this is the one to go to, 4 hour daily. Again, very, very new here, it looks like. But a chart that's actually going up and continuing to go up. But I suspect that we got bearish divergence and we actually don't. That's interesting. Daily, it's trending up, man. I have to be bullish on this chart. The one chart, I think one of the few charts today that I'll actually be bullish on. I don't know how much I trust it, being that it is an altcoin that I mean, it actually has some okay trading for an altcoin, I guess. The daily is starting to make bearish divergence, or it'll be possible here, but you need to see a local high confirmed. So I would remain bullish on this one, actually, as long as you're above yesterday's low. Below about 65 cents, which is yesterday's low, I do look for this one to correct down towards about 55 cents to 53 cents or so, and then come back to it after that. 4 hour. You know, I am probably looking at this as a bit of a pullback region, but again, just keep in mind yesterday's low, anywhere below there, that's where I actually call the correction. 4 hour, you know, it's hit extremes here. It's probably going to trade a little bit sideways, but if you start to see it come back down, especially close below that region, I do think that that one does eventually correct much further. Personally speaking, I think that that's probably what's going to happen here, but theoretically, I should be bullish on this, just based off of trend. 4 hours stochastic momentum down below 73 cents. Daily turns down below 71.5. I really think that this is probably going to be the top right here for a little bit of time. Yeah. I would only invalidate that with like basically a closure on new highs, and preferably a closure above like 80 cents above there. Yeah, I'd be looking for this one to run to new all-time highs, but until that happens, I think that you're actually finding the top probably around here. Yeah, cool. I think that is it for the day. Wow. Super chats are closed. I'm so mad. Unsub. Fuck, man. We lost Gandhi. We need Gandhi. We need Gandhi with us, man. But Gandhi is like, he's a spiritual leader. He's powerful. He can help us through these times, and he's leaving us during these times. How dare you? Elsa just stretched too hard and hurt herself. Anyways, I'm going to be signing off now, man. It has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you on this lovely Monday morning over here. We'll be back with another live stream on Wednesday and Friday, as that is the schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday and Thursday going to be nice, just clear uploads. As far as the higher term timeframes go, pretty much the same things yesterday, basically on yesterday's Sunday macro video. For the short term timeframes, I think that we're very, 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 very close to a short term timeframe bounce here, whether we've kind of already seen around the low or maybe it drops just a little bit lower towards 32 is kind of irrelevant to me when we've been kind of looking for this move ever since Bitcoin was north of 40,000 bucks. So with that in mind, I'm going to leave it right there and wish you well, and we will be back soon, hopefully also to see you soon as well. With that said, take care, and until next time.
Write it, code it, name it, tweet it, mine it, stack it, live it, dream it, post it, scan it, charge it, send it, do it, and receive it. Trade it, buy it, sell it, store it, run it, list it, first rename it. Crypto logic. Pump it, hack it, lose it, dump it, sell it, ditch it, XR, pitch it, copy, paste it, nudge it, test it, build it, try it, bend it, fork it, hype it, pump it, dump it, rinse, repeat, but quick relocate.